5:45 p.m. and we are going to have a very brief public meeting before we have our actual meeting. So we've never done this before. So you're in for a treat. So I would like to call the public meeting of the Lebanon School Board, March 23rd, to order. Do we need a roll, Ms. Irvin?
Yes.
Yes.
Need to treat it as a regular public hearing.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Here.
Mr. Gliotti?
Here.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Cope?
Here.
All right, item 2, the purpose of the public meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider public comment on the issue of the reemployment of Jennifer Duff as a supernuet to the same position after her effective date of retirement by the Lebanon City School District Board of Education.
So under Ohio Revised Code, if somebody is retired from the school district and they become a superannuant, which means they're somebody who's collecting a state pension, if they want to be hired back into that same position, we have to go through a process where we make everybody aware we're going to hire somebody who's been retired. It's a formal process, and so this is the opportunity. If anybody in the room would like to talk about Jennifer Duff and her rehiring, this is your moment to speak. There we go, sir.
Okay, hearing no
Satisfied.
comments, do we need to make a motion to approve this? No. We need a motion to adjourn.
So what will happen next month is that we will bring that position back for her to be rehired.
Okay.
We have to
Very good.
take public comment first before we can consider the reemployment. So there's nothing to vote on this time.
I'm going to need a motion to adjourn this meeting, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Isn't the Ohio Revised Code fun? All right, if everyone would stand with, should we open the meeting first or do the play? Okay, all right. Now, okay. This is great. Good evening. The time now is 5:47, and the regular Lebanon City School Board of Education meeting for March 23rd, 2026 will now come to order. Would everyone stand if able and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Color, roll, left, ace, carry, colors. Prevent, colors. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
carry, colors. Order, colors. Colors, sorry, arch.
They're going to come back in a minute and introduce themselves, but if I could, before we start, I wanted to share with you that our former superintendent, Herb Gardner, if you've heard, had passed away last week. What's that? He passed away last week. You can stand right there, you're good. And for those that didn't know him, he was my superintendent. He was here from 1981 to 1989, and he kind of set the bar for what a superintendent at Lebanon City Schools should be. Attended events, hardworking, very demanding, very strict, but he had a lot of expectations for himself, and he was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. every superintendent since him has been measured, is he a Herb Gardner guy? And luckily now we have one. Mr. Severs, Herb loved him, thought he was great. Very similar how engaged they are in the community. But yeah, Herb passed the 13th of March and will be missed. So these are our ROTC. If you guys could introduce yourselves to the crowd, let us know what grade and your rank is and what your plan is for spring break.
I'm Cadet First Lieutenant Josiah Wilson. I'm a junior, and I'm probably just going to spend time with my family and play video games.
I'm Cadet Colonel Zoe Workman. I'm a senior. And I just plan to work and spend time with my family.
I'm Cadet Zoe Ansberry. I'm a staff sergeant and I'm a sophomore. I plan on visiting colleges with my brothers and tagging along.
I'm Cadet Technical Sergeant Cooper Ball. I'm a junior and I'm planning on just relaxing at home. And that's it.
Thank you guys very much. Like when you're a junior in high school, don't you just relax anyway? I mean, I did ask them in December what they were going to get me for Christmas. That was their question, and they really let me down. So, Mrs. Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. McCutcheon?
Here.
Mr. Gliotti?
Here.
Mr. Lane?
Here.
Mrs. Dalton?
Here.
Mrs. Cope?
Here.
Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Severs for Community Builders.
Yeah, welcome this evening. I welcome you to the March board meeting. We're doing something different this year. We've tried to invite students and staff to the board meetings to recognize them for Community Builders Award. This program started as something by the Board of Education and was originally called the Student and Staff of the Quarter. And we were just recognizing students from all buildings. Several years ago, we tried to connect it to the mission of Lebanon City Schools, of building community. What does it look like to build community? Inside of our schools, in the community, on a sports team, in a club, in a musical group, what are students that are going above and beyond to do things we want to call out? Also staff members that are excelling in their craft, but also just making connections and community with kids. And so we felt like it was a great way to bring you to a board meeting. It's going to be recognized this evening. It'll be streamed on YouTube, so you can tell your family later if you want to show them what's said about the students this evening. We have over 5,500 students in our district. And this year, we're going to recognize somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 students and 10 or 15 staff members. So this is a pretty exclusive group of people that are doing things the right way, and we want to call that out when we have the opportunity to do it. We want to recognize you. Just a little bit about how things are going to go in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. We're going to call you up one at a time. In a few minutes, we're all going to stand up here in front of these tables. You'll be joined by Mr. Franz. You come on up and shake hands, please. You'll have to fight her to hand out the yard signs. That's been her job she's enjoyed doing recently. So Miss Berger, and you can slug it out. But you're going to get a yard sign recognition. I hope that you will display it at your house, and when somebody says, what is that all about? You get a chance to brag about your kid a little bit and tell them about the great things that they're doing. If you live in an HOA, I've said this for several years, and nobody's ever come back to me and told me I'm wrong, put it up anyway. They'll tell you don't put signs up. I tell you, make them take you down. And so it's a way for you to just kind of have the ability to recognize what's going on in your house. We are so thankful for the kids and the staff that make this a great place to learn and a great place to work. And you're doing a great job, and your staff, your teachers, your aides, your principals, they recognize the work that you're doing. And so this evening, this is about getting pictures of your kid. They're going to go away with a certificate that has what was written about them inside of that certificate and a yard sign. And at the end, we'll bring everybody back up for one photo together. Feel free to take pictures. Feel free to step out into the middle and do anything you want to do. But we're just happy that you're here this evening, and we look forward to celebrating your kids and a couple staff members for a few minutes here. So board, if we go ahead and step out front. And then we will call you up one at a time. When they call your name, step over beside the podium. They'll read what was written about you aloud. and then you'll work your way down to get one of these signs. We're not going to hand out the metal pokey things until you get ready to leave. There'll be a time after the photo where everybody can kind of stand up and clear out the room if you want to go at that time. You don't have to stick around for the rest of the meeting. You're welcome to, but you don't have to.
So our first winner is Becky Mace. I'm gonna read this about you, okay? Don't be embarrassed. Becky is a dedicated community builder who consistently looks for ways to serve her school with a cheerful heart. You're gonna make me laugh, aren't you? I'm having a tough meeting already. Whether she is serving as a reader for the morning announcements or quietly I don't think you quietly do anything. Quietly volunteering to help clean up the cafeteria after lunch. Becky leads through action. In the classroom, Becky's energy and kindness are contagious. Becky is often seen helping peers, clarify instructions, and offering her assistance to teachers with various tasks. She is a true team player and an absolute joy to have in class. And you were nominated by Tammy O'Rourke. Next, we have Bryson DeBiza. How do I say it? I'm sorry. Man, I've had this one really rough. Will you just read this for me? I'm sorry. Bryson is a hardworking student whose positive attitude and integrity have earned him deep respect from both his peers and staff. He is a familiar, helpful face in the front office and takes great care to make new friends feel at ease from the moment they arrive. Bryson's ability to lead with humility and kindness ensures that he is seen as a role model throughout the building. Bryson models the dedication and heart of a true warrior, and he was nominated by Amy Carpenter, Amy Wink, and Jim Watts. Nice job.
All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Bo Mace to you. Come on up, Bo. We met earlier, but congratulations again. Bo's agreed to sing a song this evening that oh, no, he did not. He did not. Real glad to read this. Bo is an outstanding 8th grade student who truly exemplifies the spirit of a community builder at Lebanon Junior High School. He's a consistent role model, demonstrating a level of maturity and integrity that sets a powerful example for his peers. What truly defines Bo is his courage. He's a student who refuses to remain silent when he sees others being mistreated, choosing instead to advocate for his classmates to ensure everyone feels safe and valued. His strength of character and deep empathy make him a pillar of our school community. Nominated by Mrs. Nate. Congratulations and thank you so much. Awesome. I'd like to introduce now Elsa Gick. Hi, Elsa. Congratulations. Mike. This is for you. All right. No singing tonight, right? Okay, all right. Elsa is such a delight to have in the classroom, bringing a consistent spirit of effort and respect to everything she does. She is a student who leads by noticing the needs of others. Recently, Elsa's community building heart was on full display when a new student joined her class from out of state. Remembering her own experience moving to the district, Elsa immediately reached out and invited the newcomer to sit by her, making sure they felt welcomed right away. This ability to empathize and act with such warmth is what makes Elsa a vital part of our school community. Nominated by Mrs. Chirila. Congratulations. And thank you so much.
Okay, if I can have Lily Drake. Okay. Lily has been a dedicated and fearless member of Hope Squad since last year, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of her peers. She's incredibly vigilant, always keeping a watchful eye for signs that a student might need support, and never hesitating to reach out to staff to ensure they get the help they need. This year, she even took the initiative to create encouraging buttons for the entire student body in honor of Hope Week, literally wearing her heart on her sleeve for the community. Lily's ability to lead such important initiatives while maintaining her high academic standards makes her a standout role model at LJHS. And you were nominated by Ms. Bacher. Okay, next, can I have Shannon Beach? Come on up. There you go, Shannon. Shannon possesses a remarkably kind and caring heart that shines through in her every action. When a new student joined her class recently, Shannon didn't wait to be asked. She immediately moved her belongings to sit beside them and became an instant friend and guide. From helping her new peer navigate the halls to teaching them how to log into the school system, Shannon's welcoming spirit turned a potentially stressful first week into a positive transition. We are lucky to have her here at Lebanon, and you were nominated by Nicole Berger.
Okay. Would Fletcher Donovan come up? Go. Congratulations. Okay. Fletcher has become a cornerstone of his 7th grade community by consistently choosing kindness over convenience. While many students focus solely on their own progress, Fletcher is the first to notice when a peer is struggling. Whether he is patiently breaking down a complex concept for a confused classmate or immediately jumping to help a peer gather drop supplies, his service is always proactive rather than reactive. By bridging the gap between being a strong student and a dedicated friend, Fletcher sets a high standard for what it means to be a true warrior. And that's from Elizabeth Rutherford. All right, congratulations.
And I get to introduce the staff members. We'll start with Madison Taylor. Madison Taylor is a transformative force at LJHS, using her passion for art to build a more beautiful and inclusive community. Her flexibility and encouragement inspire a wide range of students to express themselves, and her influence even inspires her colleagues to find beauty in their own lives outside of school. Madison's dedication is visible in every hallway of LJHS, where she is constantly working to proudly display student talent. By creating opportunities for students to compete and share their work, she ensures that our students' talents are celebrated far beyond the classroom walls. Nominated by the staff of Lebanon Junior High. Thank you. And Mr. Ryan Taylor. Congratulations. So I'm going to tell a little story first. I've known Ryan for 37 years. I was figuring it out on the way over here because he started dating a classmate of mine I've known for 50 years, and she's here. So, boy, I'm old. Yes, we both are. Peanut gallery in the back there. Let's see. Ryan Taylor is the embodiment of what it means to lead with heart. He goes to incredible lengths to ensure that every student who enters his classroom feels a profound sense of belonging. Ryan has a unique gift for building lasting relationships, especially with students who may struggle to connect elsewhere. He embraces those who need support the most, offering them unwavering patience and understanding. His care is both practical and deeply felt. Ryan is a perfect example of a true warrior, a leader who serves with humility and fights every day to make a tangible difference in the lives of children. Nominated by the staff of Lebanon Junior High.
So just as we wrap up, a couple things. I want to thank Witt's Frozen Custard and Mike Lane for sponsoring this. You'll see a little bit of the logo down in the corner of that. So kids, this is your chance to convince mom and dad you need custard on the way home this evening. I said that last month and they weren't open. So this month, I'm pretty sure it's open for the spring now. So there you go. The other thing is just to point out, Madison is in her first year with us, and Ryan is in his last year with us. And so we get to see staff members at the beginning and at the end of their careers doing great things all the way through. And so thank you so much for embodying what it means to build community in your classrooms. If you haven't seen some of the cool things that are happening in the junior high, ask your kids about the staircases and the colorful steps that have shown up recently with student art. Some really cool things happening over there. So one last thing this evening, and so I'm going to ask Bo, if you could bring your sign with you. Everybody else leave yours at your spots. We only need one sign for this photo. We're going to get a group photo up here in front. Our communications director is going to grab one first, and then she will get out of the way and let all of you get a picture if you would like as well. Mr. Franz, you're supposed to be in the picture, so don't escape. So come stand up here with the board, and we'll get some things going. So everybody come up, please.
All right, we're going to switch towards the middle.
Can I make the background?
Yes.
Isaac's not in yet.
Okay. Okay, ready? I'm going to take a couple, so just keep smiling. Okay, Karen, you can jump in if you want.
Everybody get one? Thank you very much for coming this evening. You're welcome to stay if you'd like. That's probably most my fans here tonight. Well, this is big. Don't forget your metal stakes for the artist.
I didn't look.
Are you at graduation?
I did.
Are you have a whole room?
Yeah, I'll go get the list.
I'm so excited for my daughter.
Oh, you are?
I see I'm about it a little bit tonight.
So no, so the answer is no.
I'm not going to be graduating.
All right.
I'll see you for that.
What are we whispering about?
We'll turn his mic on. We can all hear.
moving along to agenda section 5, I need a motion to adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions, changes to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, Ms. Irvin, roll please.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda section 6, we are in our communications and reports section. First is hearing of the public. I'm just going to read a quick statement. The Lebanon City School Board of Education encourages and welcomes communication from employees, parents, residents, elected officials, and local business owners in our community. And the individual who wants to address the board during a meeting must sign in prior to a meeting. Individuals may comment on matters of concern, excluding personnel items, and are limited to 5 minutes per person or 30 minutes in total. Speakers will be recognized by the board president and must state his/her name and address. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. All statements should be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question the board members individually. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate the participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy. Videotaping and audio taping of the school board meetings are permitted as long as all parties involved have been informed. The board has the right to halt any recording that interrupts or disturbs the meeting. And first to speak will be Brooke Wong, is that correct? If you just want to go to the podium so the people at home can hear. Just state your name, it's good.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Wong. I reside on Orchard Run Drive in Lebanon, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak tonight. I have 3 children in the district. One is an 8th grader, one is a 1st grader, and I have an incoming kindergartner. Our 1st grader, Owen, in February of last year was diagnosed with something called Legg-Calvé-Perthes disease. We had initially hoped to avoid any kind of surgical intervention, but ultimately, as the disease progressed, that became the only viable option to preserve the anatomy and function of his hip. In October of 2025, he underwent a 6-hour procedure where they fractured his pelvis in 3 different places and then pinned it to help correct the disease state. And he required 8 weeks of immobilization and a body cast and then a modified brace, and then it was gradual return to activity from there. Just 2 weeks ago, he was finally cleared from having to use his little walker with his little green tennis balls and begin resuming some of his normal activities for a 6-year-old boy. But during that time, and even still today, our family has been so incredibly supported by the staff at Bowman Primary. And I wanted to take some time. I wrote a letter that I can email to you guys later, but I really wanted you guys to see just the impact that these people at Bowman Primary have had on our family. So, dear members of Lebanon City School Board of Education, I'm writing to express my sincere gratitude for the exceptional support our family has received from Bowman Primary during our son Owen's surgery and recovery. What could have been an incredibly stressful and isolating time was instead met with compassion, flexibility, and a true commitment to student well-being. From the very beginning, the team at Bowman Primary demonstrated a willingness to partner with us to ensure that Owen could continue his education while prioritizing his health. The communication was thoughtful and consistent. Every interaction reflected a genuine care not only for his academic progress, but for him as a whole person and for our family during a very challenging time. I would especially like to thank and recognize Owen's teacher, Jackie Kuntz, whose dedication went far above and beyond expectations. She took the time to come to our home to work with Owen during his recovery, an act of kindness and commitment that made a profound difference for both his learning and his morale. She thoughtfully brought activities that he could complete even while immobilized, ensuring he could continue to engage and feel a sense of accomplishment despite his limitations. She also brought small pieces of the classroom to him, including treats from class parties, which helped him feel included and connected during a time when he could have very easily felt left out. Her efforts were not just about academics. They were about preserving Owen's sense of belonging, normalcy, and joy. That level of care is extraordinary and reflects a deep commitment to her students that goes well beyond the classroom. It's clear that she sees and values her students as individuals, and we are incredibly grateful for the impact she has had on our son during such a vulnerable time. We are also deeply appreciative of the broader Bowman primary team. Sherry McHenry served as an excellent resource, ensuring everything was aligned and that we felt supported through the whole process. Brett Gordon also played a role in coordinating efforts and helping everything come together smoothly. Tina Rayberg adapted gym activities from the get-go so he could safely participate, including things like stationary pedals, which allowed him to remain engaged and still feel part of the class despite his limitations. Their collective leadership and care made a meaningful difference to our family. In a time when it's easy to focus on the challenges within education, I really felt that it was important to take a moment to highlight what is going right. The support we experienced reflects a strong student-centered culture, one that values compassion, adaptability, and excellence. Please extend our deepest thanks to Jackie Kuntz and the entire Bowman primary team for the care and support that they have shown our family. The impact of their kindness and dedication will stay with our family for years to come. And while Owen still has to have another surgery coming probably in September or October, it will not nearly be as limiting as this one was, but we know that when the time comes that we need to express some limitations or there's absences or tardiness, we have nothing but support, and we really thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
Brooke, thank you, and best wishes for continued improvement for Owen. Good.
Anybody else want to say anything?
That's an incredible story.
Thank you.
I'm glad you shared it.
Yeah, thank you. Our next speaker this evening is going to be Chris Flagg.
Good evening, Board. My name is Chris Flagg, 140 Shady Lane. I'm here on behalf of the Lebanon Athletic Boosters. I've had the privilege of serving on the Board of Directors for 6 years, the last 3 years in the capacity of President. Wanted to give you a status report on this past Saturday's 5th Annual Gala and the DPC project that we are working with you all in. The Gala was a resounding success. I am still in awe of the generosity of the community and many board members here in front of me. In 10 minutes, we raised $20,000 in donations. The boosters raised another $20,000 in the silent auction, and the sports team raised $8,000 in their portion of the silent auction. We also had the honor of recognizing Coach Nick Hensley as our 2026 Impact Award winner. Goes beyond wins and losses for this award for him. He touches the lives of thousands of students from kindergarten through 12th grade, not just making them better wrestlers, but better human beings and potential employees and leaders of the community. All that being said, the DPC project, the indoor year-round training facility that we are hoping to build this summer. This past weekend's gala has brought us to $140,000 towards a $200,000 goal. Had a meeting this afternoon with Mr. Sievers, Mr. Pantling, Mr. King, Mr. Butler, and Mr. Arlinghouse, along with my committee members of Matt Warmeyer, Amy Lane, and Jamie Jacobs. We feel the goal to install this summer is still within reach, $60,000 left, and we really haven't even yet canvassed the community, local businesses, and other families that were not in attendance at the gala this past weekend. So thank you to the district for providing the space, and the gala committee for putting on a wonderful gala to put up the infrastructure to raise the funds to meet our goal of $200,000 by May 1st. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for doing such a good job with the boosters, man. Well, but I mean, that boosters, man, that boosters organization in the last, 5, 6, 7 years has really taken off and grown.
1,000%.
And the people that are involved in it are just, I mean, amazing. Amazing people.
Thank you for your leadership and all the time and effort that takes. I know the community knows you're doing a lot, but I know from the inside how many hours that entails, and thank you.
So agenda section 6, item B is our student board member update. Ms. Berger, you have the floor.
Okay.
My first update is our National Honor Society spent the month of end of February, we're still working on it on March, and then we'll finish the week after spring break. Community service events. So on the right, I have a list of all of the places NHS members, we have 120. We sent everybody out. It's a required event we do in our spring semester. Everybody was sent out and chose one of those places from the list and served in our community. I personally served with Salvation Army in Middletown, and they were overwhelmed when we asked what we could help with, so they gave us a closet. And we spent 2 hours tackling a closet and cleaning up paint and sand that had fallen on the floor and moving tables. I got dust in my hair and dust in my eyes, but it's really an exciting thing for NHS. We get so much good feedback from different organizations around the community and just the students who are involved in it, and just getting to go volunteer in places that you probably don't get the opportunity to volunteer at all the time. My second update, I was talking with Mr. Brunk. We were kind of discussing what I should speak about at this meeting, and he said we're really just in a season of preparation at this time. The junior high and high school are scheduling, so counselors are working. I know the high school counselors came down to the junior high and met with kids and scheduled. And then Mr. Brunk said he's planning master schedules for next year. And he is excited that there's a high interest in dual enrollment courses. So we've talked about that in past board meetings, how we're dropping some AP courses and inviting more enrollment courses into the schedule. And there's a high interest. A lot of students are taking dual enrollment for next year. SAT and AP testing. So our juniors just spent the last few weeks prepping and taking the SAT. They had an entire day off March 12th where they tested. So everyone else was off. Juniors got to go in and take the SAT. I heard overall feedback, or as good as feedback you can have for SAT testing. I'm sure nobody said it was fun, but they said it went well, especially with the prep seminar they took. I am meeting with the rest of the Senior Student Council on Thursday. We're going to continue planning graduation, baccalaureate, and prom. Our prom tickets are on sale right now, but we don't have an after prom or dinner this year, so it's a little easier to plan, but we are preparing for that. Scholarship season is going on right now for seniors. The bulk of scholarships are due tomorrow on the 24th. So I know a lot of my senior friends, we were all writing scholarships for the last few weeks, and a lot of those are due tomorrow, and then we have a few up until the scholarship night in May. And then spring sports season, so I know we have softball, baseball, boys tennis, boys volleyball, track, lacrosse. I think that's all of them. And those are up and running. And track has their first meet this Saturday. For my last update, I wanted to speak on less of like the actual high school and more in just Lebanon in general. So Teacher Academy, which is a career center satellite program at the high school, just competed for Educators Rising. It's a teaching competition. I competed in it. We competed in Columbus for state competition, and we had 6 national qualifiers. So all 6 of those students in the front were going to Portland, Oregon in June to compete lessons. Like I taught a lesson at the junior high. I had to write it, plan it, teach it, film it, and submit it to state, and then I will compete the same thing in Oregon. So it's really exciting, quite nerve-wracking. We're preparing for that right now in class. And then I get the opportunity to spend a lot of time at our junior high. I want to be a teacher, a junior high teacher, so I get to shadow most of my school day at the junior high. And I wanted to brag on them since it's junior high community builder night for a second. We have a lot of cool electives at the junior high. I know we have math ones, Monopoly, odds and evens, and my favorites, ELA ones. We have a For the Love of Food class, which is reading and writing and creative writing with food-based topics. And we're making pasta and spaghetti and showing kids how to make Alfredo sauce, butter sauce, and maybe marinara on Thursday. Kids get really excited about that. We have a grilled cheese competition at the end of the year. And then what I have pictures of is our Schooled at Sports class. This is, again, reading and writing, all sports-based, so really engaging in student interest. And we just had speakers come last week, Mike Deal and Chris Perry. Chris Perry is a coach for our high school shot put team. And Mike, who is in the red shirt on that top picture, he is an amputee. and is training for the Paralympics 2028. So they came in and spoke to the students just about Olympic dreams and had an inspirational message, and it was really exciting. I loved it from an outside perspective, and we had a lot of positive student feedback, so I just wanted to brag on that. Some of the electives and courses we're able to offer at the junior high, which I know we're introducing similar things at the high school as well in the future. It's really exciting, and students get really excited to come into class and talk about sports. We're doing March Madness brackets right now, and they come in a little crazier than they probably should, but it's really exciting to see that student interest. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Next, Mr. Severs.
Yeah, so while I'm pulling this up here, want to share a little bit. This is a reminder, semi-annually, I'm supposed to present to the Board of Education, and then we post it to our website about student discipline data. We take some time at the beginning of this semester to review the data. So my rhythm has sort of been February or March to present in the last several years, just because we try to get things caught up and make sure that we have a good picture of what's going on before we present it. This has been an ongoing discussion for us for the last several years, as you guys will remember, but this is the requirement for us to talk about it at the board meeting. That's what we're doing this evening. These things will also get reported to the state in a state reporting software through EMIS. And so that's the requirement. The definition of bullying, I underlined a few key words here. We'll talk about this in a second, but the state definition of bullying is very specific, and it's something that is directed towards another student, and the key there is more than once. So you can be mean, you can be abusive to others, you can do those things one time, and it's still wrong, but it's not bullying. If it happens repeatedly, if it's severe, persistent, and pervasive, which are the next three words there, it must be severe enough to cause some issues to their academic or educational environment. It must be persistent, meaning it's happening over a period of time and not just once, and pervasive, obvious in what's happening in a pervasive incident. So we know that a lot of people use the word bullying, my kid's being bullied, or that kid is a bullying. The definition by state law and what we're required to report is very specific. So what we did within the last year, we've talked about this, and going into this year, we revised our student code of conduct to come up with some more specific infractions in there. Under the abuse of others category, abuse of others is the definition, the term that ODE asks us to provide the data under. We didn't come up with that term ourselves, but abuse of others and then describe it from there. So bullying is one of those things. We created a topic that we have under abuse of others that is behavior that, if it's repeated, would be bullying. So it rises to these levels, except for it only happens one time. We think that's a pretty accurate reflection of what people would say, my kid's being bullied and at school. And we'll look at these numbers in a moment. The other thing that we've continued to work on, going back 7 years now, 8 years at this point in time, as a result of the Office of Civil Rights complaint that we had, is just the culture in our building. We have to report on a regular basis the incidents of harassment or racial harassment. And so there's a category here that we'll talk about, and those numbers are actually kind of coming down. But I share the numbers, and I talk about this a little bit ahead of time to say it's an issue that still happens in our buildings, and when we are made aware of it, we deal with it. This is what is actually reported from August through December in terms of, now the first column there, the middle column, reported offenses. A bus driver, an aide, a teacher, somebody sends a referral to the office. And what we encourage them to do when they send the referral to the office to get the principal's attention is, you check the box of anything you think it can be. If it's swearing and disrespect and insubordination, then you check all three boxes: swearing, disrespect, insubordination. If it is something that you think is possibly bullying or somebody uses the word bullying, then check bullying and check anything else that may apply. So when you look at the middle column, those are things that are actually reported from a student to a staff member, from a staff member to the office of somebody saying, I'm being bullied. It goes to the office, they investigate it. If it doesn't satisfy the definition of bullying, then it doesn't end up in the far right column. Another thing to point out to you is that according to the state law, we're required to report the number of bullies, not the number of bullying incidents. So it's possible that that Donovan student had multiple incidents of bullying, but you only report the student one time and not multiple times. So those are some things in the definition there. There aren't a whole lot of confirmed cases because most things fall under this category. Most things fall under the category that it's a bad behavior, that if it's repeated, would be bullying. This data tells a very different story, and we'll talk about that in a second. But again, middle column, that's a teacher, an aide, a bus driver, somebody checked the box and said, this kid needs to be talked to in the office. We see some behaviors that are bad and could be bullying. There may be some overlap between that 9 at Donovan there and that 10 at Donovan there. That may be overlapped, and maybe some of them, they checked the box multiple times. So what you'll notice here was in this page, 15 reported offenses, only at junior high, none of them rose to the level of bullying by definition. 9 at Donovan, only 1 rose to that level. Over here, 10 at Donovan were behaviors that somebody said they were being bullied, and 10 times the outcome was they got some sort of discipline for that behavior. How do you go from Barry having 30 to the number of confirmed offenses being 53? Well, some of them came from this chart, where it was reported that it was bullying, but it was the first time, and so it didn't rise to that level. Other times, what got reported to the office, the principal thought it was enough that it would have satisfied this definition. So where the first page doesn't tell the story that we have a whole lot of confirmed bullying cases, this document, this graph shows, or chart shows, there are a lot of things that get reported to the office, and by the time the principal investigates it, we are still applying discipline to that.
Can you go back to the first slide? This one, you said the far right column is the number of students, right? 1 student confirmed.
There's
The
multiple
next-
cases in that building, by the way.
Correct. The next slide, though, my guess is the number of occurrences.
The number of number of
So
times
not
it was confirmed.
53 almost bullies at Barry, but 53
discipline
occurrences.
occurrences. They would move off of this chart and onto the next one if it was more, if that was a fewer number, right? They would have been labeled in the bullying category had it been repeated. Okay? So this is, do we love this data? No. In a district of 5,500 students, the number of times that somebody is reporting that them being mistreated, I think this data shows that our office staff takes that very seriously and does a process to provide discipline. This discipline can be anything from in-school suspension to expulsion. Just depends on the severity of what that is. Okay? Any other questions about those 2 categories? I think it's fair to say that both of these things, both of these charts are what people think of when they call and say, my kid's being bullied at Lebanon City Schools. The legal definition is one thing, right? What's happening? The last one would also fall under the same abuse of others category. And this is the category of hate speech and biased behavior. So saying or doing things to each other that applies to a protected class under the federal definition. So could be racial slurs, could be homophobic slurs, or ethnic slurs, things like that. Also is other types of biased behavior around that. So these things get reported. One of the things we have to show when we talk about Office of Civil Rights stuff is what is our response when things are reported? Do we investigate it thoroughly and do we apply discipline consistently? Reported offenses, confirmed cases. Barry, another example there of where the confirmed was higher than the reported, is likely a situation where something got sent to the office if somebody said something mean and hurtful, right? And what came out of it was what they said that was mean and hurtful was actually something that was racial or something along those lines. So could be in the situations where there were multiple kids involved in the same incident or something like that. I don't have all that detail, but these are numbers we want to continue to drive down, right? Through education that we do in the buildings, through consistent responses. I think it's important for us to say to our community, these issues exist. And when we are aware of them, we respond. So that is our report for the first semester. And I would do a similar thing at the end of the year in hopes that our numbers from first semester to second semester go down. You know, I think one thing that stood out to me, and as I looked at this, this table, this is happening at early and earlier grades. And the things that are being said at Donovan are explicit. It's not like inferences things. I mean, they're, you know, at pretty young ages, things that they're either hearing at, on the internet, right? On the internet, TikTok trends, social media, in the community, at home, I don't know, right? But it's happening in earlier and earlier ages. And we are attempting to respond to that each time that it gets reported to the office after we do some investigation. So any questions about any of that data?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you talk to people around the community, this is kind of a hot topic with this bullying, and we know that it's a very broad definition. But are the numbers that are published, that first slide that you showed, because, you know, we know that that's not, like, that may not be realistic when you look at the second slide. And I think that if the first slide is what's published, people are like, well, you're ignoring it or you're not fully paying attention to it. So what's the difference between the two slides? I know you kind of gave a little bit of definition, but is it all schools are publishing the first slide, so we just do the same thing because of this definition versus letting the public know that we really are taking this seriously and we're trying to create a very safe environment for our kids?
So last year, what we reported on this was this is the reporting requirement according to Ohio law and our board policy. And what it says is the list shall be limited to the number of verified acts of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, whether in the classroom or on school property. So all that we're required by law to present is that information. Now, last year, our report that went online also showed incidences of, and it wasn't as clean as this data because we didn't have all of the breakdowns of it, but showed abuse of other categories also. So that kind of overarching abuse of others was listed. It is my intention, I've asked everybody in Warren County at a recent superintendent meeting what they present, and some people just present this information, and some people present it in both situations. My plan is to show both.
Okay.
My plan is to show both. I think that it, with some sort of messaging around, you know, that while the state definition, you know, is very specific, we want the community to know that we deal with these things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We didn't brush, this is 81, I believe was my math was correct on this. There were 81 reported incidences of behaviors that if repeated were bullying. The number on the right is somewhere in the ballpark of 78. So it came to the office, somebody said it was bad, principal agreed. And we did discipline as a result.
But it didn't quite hit the state definition yet.
but it didn't hit the definition yet. Okay? So my plan is to report both in some sort of way that shows the information.
Okay, that's good, because
Yeah.
I think we are recognizing it and we are doing something
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it.
we've talked about this for 2.5 years now, and we've changed the way we report this information. We want to be as transparent as possible, I think. You know, it's my name on the line when this information goes out, and I'm the one that does the presentation. I'd like it to be as clear as possible.
Good.
So, yeah, that's my plan. Thank you, good question. Any other questions about this information?
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Moving on to board committee reports. Our student achievement liaison, Ms. Dalton.
Okay.
Okay, give me a second here. Sorry, Jennifer.
That's okay.
Found it.
Okay. March already, March Madness.
It's crazy. There we go.
Starting off at the Lebanon High School. This is physics in action with hands-on engineering projects. And I think that it's hands-on learning, it creates meaning behind the learning, problem solving and team building, and working with teams, which I think if, you know, career preparation and everything, that's what it's all about right there. So those are some photos to show that. And then I wanted to show two things here. Smock, our service dog, making the rounds, and we utilize him, or her, him? A him, okay. Throughout our entire, all of our schools. And I just looked it up as to what service dogs make, what differences do they make. First, they help lower anxiety, stress, and depression in students. There are fewer behavioral outbursts and better focus with service dogs. There's improved attendance and higher grades, increased social interaction. And so I think all of those make this, and I think we get a grant towards this.
Yeah,
and
so
make it all worth
so
it.
we got a grant to help pay for smoke, and staff member becomes a handler of them. We have several. And this one was primarily stationed at the high school, but has been doing some other trips around. And then there's another one on the way through the same grant program at the junior high as well. So
Good.
primarily the focus and the reasoning for it came out of, you know, student trauma and having the ability for them to be there during some of those post-traumatic incidents and things. But it's also sort of just a presence in the building, so.
Good,
Smoke's been a good addition.
Yes. And wanted to thank Caitlin for all of her work. I didn't realize how much preparation went into that competition in preparing a whole class day and lesson plan.
I personally competed in lesson plan, but Educators Rising is all kinds of different competitions. I know Addison Ledgerwood, she's in one of the ones in the middle. She wrote a whole book, a children's book. Someone else wrote a speech and did a public speaking event. So there are a few of us that competed in lesson planning, but it's so fun because there's so many different competitions. And you get to see everyone's personality, whether you want to be a teacher or not. It's fun to participate in.
Yeah, well, I think it's so great to see the enthusiasm and the creativity that the young up-and-coming teachers are having. So you certainly do have to be creative in this day and age to engage these students. So nice work with that. And best of luck in Portland.
Thank you.
And then Donovan had their annual showcase night, and I wanted to thank all the teachers and staff because I know that there are many hours that go into putting these together, but they are quite meaningful to the students and the parents to both highlight our schools, but also just their first chance. A lot of them are getting in front of a crowd and performing. So team effort from all and their artwork and everything. So thanks to all the time that was put into that.
I think they had a person who designed the game like Taco Cat. Yeah.
Goat cheese beef. pizza.
Yeah, the goat cheese pizza one, yeah.
They came to the second show, so I got to sneak in. It was the baseball parents meeting night. And it was kind of a neat use of AI. They had the tunes, like Jingle Bells was one. I can't remember some of the other ones, but then they had AI write words based on the different categories of the games. And the kids sang. It was incredible to see it. It was kind of
Yeah.
fun. And
I was
I'm glad
walking
I got
out
to
the-
walk in for a few minutes and see a few songs, but.
I was walking out of the building that night with Matt Nolan, our auditor, and he was like, "This is pretty awesome." And he was like raving about it. I had no idea because I was in the same parent meeting you were in that evening. And so I think it was it was really well received by our community and parents, and pretty cool for them to see somebody that was the game creator as well. So it's a cool moment for kids.
Excellent. Career Day, May 21st, and we wanted to invite all parents, family, and volunteers that would like to participate in this particular day at Berry Intermediate. This gives our students a first chance, or really a live chance to see what they could potentially do in their future. So very valuable to hear from everyone out in our community about what they do. And congratulations to these 3 Lebanon Junior High School students who were in the writing competition in Columbus, 1st through 3rd, and that's a sweep for our junior high creative writing. Reading Across America, we want to thank our board members, Mike, and Roy, and Mr. Sievers here for reading with these students at Donovan. It's definitely memorable for them, and they really like taking time out of their school day to listen.
So what do you call the larva of a butterfly, Mr. Sievers?
It's called a caterpillar, but at my house, we called it caterpillar, and I screwed it up when I was reading to the first graders. So,
And luckily,
Did they
Mr. Leahy
notice?
and I got to hear that.
Did they notice?
I think
called himself
I called myself out
Oh,
for it
okay.
because I didn't do it on purpose. And then a girl was asking me a question about the book, and she said caterpillar also, and I felt like I had done something special that day, that I had ruined the word for somebody else. I also very much appreciate these photos. Those are my feet on the lower
Yes,
right.
I know. I could not get that.
The rest of
They
them
look-
got into the picture, just
They were
my
cut
feet
out.
on that one.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was fun. It was a great day.
Okay, and then our high school business academy advances to Nashville. They participated in competition in Columbus. And again, thank you to our teachers that prepared these students for this competition, because every year we do so well and we advance to the next level. And it's because they know how to dress, how to present themselves, and answer the questions correctly. So that really involves just preparation to get there in the first place. And thank you for our teachers that do that.
Is it Ms. Dalton?
Okay.
That's it? All
That's
right. Next would be our CAT committee, Mr. Gliotti.
Yes, the committee met this month with 7 in attendance, which included Mrs. Irvin, yourself, and myself, and members of the community. The purpose of the meeting was to adopt a recommendation for on-hand cash limits, both a lower level and a higher level, that could be then presented to the Board of Education with the help of Mrs. Irvin. And feel free to jump in, as always, as these meetings get rather complicated, but it's a recommendation for communication purposes only, and that will be presented to the board to discuss and review at a future meeting. Oh, tonight? Tonight, yes. And that was the content of our meeting.
Yep. Very good. It was a quick one.
It was quick.
Mrs. Cope, what's happening in Columbus?
Well, there's lots of things that are still in committee, but there was one thing that I thought I would point out that I found extremely interesting. that I think many students would find interesting. Governor DeWine, in his final State of the State address, showed his support for House Bill 304, increasing recess time from 30 minutes to 60 minutes per day, kindergarten through 8th grade, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, lots of research shows kids moving helps with attention, helps with behaviors, things like that. But if this were to pass, it would be required, except on days that students have physical education. So it would also, it would affect attendance hours, so things like that would come into play. But I thought that was super interesting that the governor spoke out on that.
Recess doesn't count towards hours of
Right.
instruction.
So that would mean the days would be,
30 minutes shorter.
yes.
Longer, right?
No, I mean,
The
what we could
education.
count would be 30 minutes
Right.
less. We would, at Lebanon City Schools, we would not have to extend our day to accomplish that. Because right now, kindergarten is the only place where we're close on hours. But we also don't offer recess for 7th and 8th grade students.
That was
So
the one I thought was really interesting, was 7th and 8th, because that's typically,
It's a bad idea. Isaac Severs.
Bad idea.
I
Isaac
can't
Severs'
imagine-
personal opinion, I'm sorry,
I
that's
can't
not
imagine
the
7th and 8th graders at
educational-
recess.
For an hour.
Yeah,
For an hour.
Yes.
Yes,
So we need
and
to advocate maybe stopping at some point in time with recess, but I think the research is pretty clear that recess is important.
it is important. I didn't realize that there were schools in the state of Ohio that have recess for 7th and 8th grade. So something that maybe we might want to reach out to the House about in their bill, not extending it through 8th grade. But did find that really interesting because that could affect many schools with attendance hours because they would be short.
Well, and the calamity days would have a greater impact sooner. right?
Can I say something about that?
No. You're not in 8th grade anymore.
Our 7th and 8th grade, it's like an unofficial recess time. They go out during, Kathy Vaughn takes a group of students out like during lunch if they finish lunch early or I don't know if they have a free bell or something. She takes them outside during lunch times to run around the like back parking lot. They block it off and that's like their recess time. They call it recess time at the junior high. And that's like their free time. They bring footballs out, play jackpot is the popular game. So I know a lot of 7th and 8th graders have done that, and I've heard from teachers around the building that it has cut down a lot on their behaviors because they
Oh,
just
I
get their
bet.
energy out. But I don't know if that counts towards their recess time, but they count it there.
It would if we had the rule, yes. I think it's typically 10 to 15 minutes, depends on how quickly they eat, so.
Yeah,
I think
60
what-
minutes is a long time.
Yeah, when I was we had it at Berry, they called it activity period instead of recess, and it was like 15 minutes, which was, I can remember what I was like. You don't want to cut me loose for an hour. Just this bad things are going to happen, so. Are you done, Ms. Cope? I'm sorry.
That's all I
That's it.
have.
All right, very good. Warren County Career Center, Mr. Lane.
Thank you. Yeah, they actually started making the summaries of the meeting, so this is a nice little ad here. We met on Thursday, one of the months where that meeting came first. At the meeting Thursday, the board approved a travel proposal from EF Tours for students in career tech labs to travel to Dominican Republic next April on a service-oriented trip to use the skills they're learning in their labs to help a community. The board also approved high school course guide for 26-27 and upgrades to the IT infrastructure. The treasurer shared that the district's financial position remains stable. Expenditures are higher compared to last year, but that is largely due to the fact that we paid off the Atrium campus building. Superintendent King shared an update on the Career Center's application enrollment numbers for next year. As of this meeting, as of Thursday, over 830 students have applied and 600 students have been accepted. Heavy equipment, electrical trades, pre-nursing, welding, and cosmetology programs are most popular. And I will tell you that as of Thursday, Lebanon has 119 students who have confirmed at this point their attendance. So it's probably higher than that after a couple more days. And that's it from the Career Center. Next meeting is April 16th.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Agenda Section 7, I'm going to need a motion to approve the minutes from our February the 17th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any comments, corrections, or questions about last month's agenda? Hearing none. Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda Section 8, I'm going to need a motion to discuss the financial consent items A through L. Would be A through L, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Irvin, I will turn A over to you, our treasurer report.
All right, so I have a little bit of a unique presentation. Fortunately, it will not be as long as last month's, so breathe easy. In fact, it's a little bit more fun. If we can go to the next slide. So one of the initiatives that we've been doing from our strategic plan is communicating out financial information so that our financials are transparent. And one of the big things that I did in developing this is I wanted to speak to multiple audiences. So not everyone can sit at a board meeting for an hour and talk about financial forecasts. So what does that look like? So with the help of AI, we now have 6 comic strips on our website. This is one of them. And yes, they are dad jokes, 100%. But anyone could read these, right? And so that's the goal, is to reach just different audiences. And unfortunately for you, you don't get all the comics, so you'll have to go to the website to enjoy those. But we are going to talk about some of those terms and just why are these terms important? Why did I highlight these terms? It's because we talk about these every single month, just in a very professional way, as opposed to a readable comic strip kind of way. So the first comic I highlighted there was cash balance, and that's what we'll talk about on this next slide. So cash balance, what is it? You hear me say, this is our cash balance. What does it mean? Each of these slides, each of these key terms, and I'm not going to read this to you in detail, but I recommend that you look at this. There's a section off to the right that says, if I was a business or just a homeowner, how would I translate this term out of school finance and into my world? So that's that little box on the right there. And that's just giving you all a perspective of how does this translate. It's not just a business financial world here. And then the box on the left is, what is the term? What do you hear? What are the phrases you hear? But what does it then mean? So really giving you, again, just a definition of what that term is. The section I want you all to focus on that I think is very important for you is the why this matters. So why does it matter? You might say cash balance, great, it's important, but you might not have a reason why it's important. That section at the bottom really speaks to you as board members. Why should you care if I say our cash balance is $22.5 million? What does that mean for you specifically? So specifically for cash balance, it's should you approve something that we're going to propose to you that's going to cost money that will reduce that cash balance, right? And so each of these slides is built the same way. Again, I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but I did want to provide this kind of information so that you don't just hear me speak from that main slide that I always show, and I'm going to show those again, but so that you can understand why do we talk about those. So this is cash balance for you. This is the slide that you see every single month. I show you where are we at with cash balance. And you can always see those trend lines are always very, very close, with the exception of February. So this was a great example of why you all should be looking at this and something that can trigger your thoughts. You'll see that vertical bar there is for February. That is the month that is past. The gray line is where we're actually at cash balance wise for the current fiscal year. The obvious thing to note here is it's very different from what we expected to happen and from what was last year. So for you all, why? What happened? Is this a bad thing? Is this a good thing? Is this something we can expect? So these are the things that I usually just head off and tell you, hey, this is what's going on. But this is why this matters for you all. So we're 8 months in, and I will show you in a later slide, but basically what happened is we get property tax payments as they come in, and you all approved that we can get those in advance to the actuals. We got a late payment that hit in March, the first day of March, because of a weekend and how the timing landed. That's why we show a very low cash balance for February. You're gonna see that hike back up to its normal movement in March.
Mrs. Irvin, does that have anything to do with the fact that they only billed for the first half of the year as well? So some
We do
people
not-
who normally pay.
Yeah, we do
for
not think so. It was
Okay.
literally just a timing, but I am pretty confident our collections this year will be less than we saw last year. Because they've said to folks, only pay half because we're going to give you a credit. So I'm pretty confident, and we spoke about this at the CAC meeting as well, I'm pretty confident this year's numbers are going to trend low. So we'll see in a couple of months if that prediction is accurate. This gives you some historical background, and I just wanted to pull this into perspective. If you see, this graph shows you from 2006, back when our district was in some fiscal caution, fiscal watch, we were in some fiscal times, right? Our lowest cash balance was less than 500,000. That gives me heart palpitations, right? And we talk about that a lot. That was a time where we said, the state came in and said, you guys have to raise your cash balance, this is not enough. And you can see that trend, and it starts, we made significant changes to staffing, we cut a lot of programs, the taxpayers voted in property taxes, and you can see that trend coming up, and then you see a trend back down, and in the next slide, you're gonna see kind of why these are trending. So at the point that we come down in cash balance, we ask for new money or we reduce expenses. So that was a new property tax levy that the voters approved. That started building our cash balance back up, right? Until you see another dip, and that's when another property tax levy was requested from our community. That built us up to the very top in 2022. The peak cash balance was 27.3 million. That is higher than our board recommended amounts, and we'll talk about the cash policy that the CAC committee is recommending to you later. But that is higher than the number of days we typically like to have on hand. So we did some strategic things to make sure that we had appropriate services and staffing for our students. Those cash balances have started to come down, as is the normal trend. And the yellow bars, the orange bars, those show the forecasted years. So I thought this was very interesting because in just a very short number of years, we're going down to significantly low levels of cash balance. So why is cash balance important? It really shows us trends and how we need to move forward. Okay, so the next term we always talk about is cash on hand. What is cash on hand? What does it mean? And it's really, at the end of the day, how many days can we operate if we get no brand new money? Okay, so why does this matter? Well, you can't approve hiring if we don't have money to pay people, right? So those agenda items that you're going to talk about later in this meeting, those have direct impact on cash values. How do you see this on a month-to-month basis? This same slide that I always show you. We talk about currently we're at 71 days of cash. Our target is 120. We think we're going to land at the end of the year around 106. So again, this is all assumptions holding true, which never happens, but that's where we're at, and that's how we talk about cash in hand. On the next slide, this shows a graph I showed you last month on what our forecast is predicting. So by the end of 2030, we would only have 16 days operating cash. That's not okay, right? We talked about that last month during the forecast. If you look at the next slide, I just want to point out again the impact from our current forecast. It would not have been as bad had property tax reform not have gone into effect, right? The bulk of this, so the yellow bars at the bottom, is our forecast without property tax reform. The reason we are so low and needing to talk about what do we do now is the property tax reform impact, okay? So this one, you all know so well because you hear me talk about it so often, right? What's a financial forecast? We already talked about this. Again, I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but this is really important to know. This is a planning tool. This is not a prediction. I don't have a glass silver ball. This is really just how do we move forward? And this is the slide that you see each time, right? We talk about the red bars where we're at. This is the forecast, where we go, what we're spending, what we're receiving, and where we land. The numbers are less important than the story. And so the next few slides, I talk about what questions should you be asking as board members to when you're looking at this forecast. So what does the story, what is the story of this forecast? Are expenses higher than revenue? We know that they are. We are every single year spending more than we're receiving. The next question, what does the trend in the cash balance, to the next slide, what does the trend in the cash balance line reveal? So you see that our cash balance is slowly going down, right? So again, we talked about cash balance a little bit. The next slide, what is the ending cash balance? Cash on hand. Is it at a sustainable level? We just talked about that. No, it is not. So really recognizing it's not about the $3 million, because $3 million to most of us is a lot of money, right? And someone might say, what's wrong? You have $3 million. Why is that a problem? So recognizing the number is not important. It's the story that the graph and the chart are telling you. Okay, finally, the last slide. We are 8 months into the year, so we should be looking about 67% targeted expenses and receipts. Revenues, we are down significantly. So we just talked about that. That is that property tax delayed timing. By next month, I should have a very good understanding of did we get less property taxes than we anticipated and by how much? Expenses.
Karen, let me ask you a question. So when
Sure.
you're anticipating property tax, you're not building in that people pay up front for the whole year. So your anticipated amounts are only the first half due.
Not even that level of detail. So all we can do is really look at what did we get last year and when did we get it, and kind of guess we're going to get about the same amount, probably a little bit more.
So that would include the full year payment of
It's the
historically that's been
trend.
happening, yeah.
Yeah, and so every year you see this number fluctuate because sometimes we get more upfront and less on the actual. On the expenses, this is pretty similar. We're just slightly under our target, so that's great. Revenues, I'm going to keep an eye on. That's what I got for you. Any questions?
So if you can go back like to the funny looking graph that dipped and climbed. And one of the things that we don't ever talk about is the interest earned when we have a decent cash balance. Because if we had a $20 million cash balance, you're probably making $1 million a year in interest.
It's
take.
substantial,
Yeah.
yes.
That's $1 million that taxpayers are not paying.
Yes, yeah. Unless you're in a COVID period where you don't get any interest.
What?
Which unfortunately lined up perfectly with some of those years. But yes, there's a significant amount of interest coming in.
Any other questions for Mrs. Irvin on that report? Comments? So, we did discuss last week that we're gonna have to get together and make some decisions based on Mrs. Irving's reporting and the change in the real estate taxes, probably pretty quick. Okay, very good. B is your normal monthly reports for February. And then C would be the appropriations for March. D is her typical amended certificate of estimated resources. E is a very long list of donations. Thank you, Mr. Gliotti. If you ever need to borrow $3.35 to make that an even 1,050, you just let me know.
I somehow expected a comment on that.
That is just an odd number. There's got to be a reason behind that. There is, okay, all right, all right. F is a financial forecast. G is the student activity and budget statement for the Hope Squad and Donovan's Neediest Kids of All. H is a tax resolution to the Warren County Budget Commission for fiscal year 2027. I, we're going to approve the Lebanon City Schools breakfast and lunch prices for next school year. J is the revised exempt pay grade schedule. K, we're going to close a fund for the class of 2025 and move that money to the class of 2029. And L, we're creating a new marching band student fee fund.
Can you explain that one?
Yes, so what we've found over the last few years is for student fees in particular, all of the fees, so science, reading, English, band, all of them are in a single fund. And you all approve the budgets by year, but once that year is over, any remaining cash stays in that fund, but it's not grouped by subject anymore.
It just becomes a generic pool at that point.
Correct, and it could be used for anything, so for, in this instance, for anything in the high school. But it has to be consumables for the high school. So what we're finding, because marching band has such significant prices and needs, we're trying to segregate that so we have an actual, absolute, here's how much cash you have to spend, so that we are absolutely putting that back into the program and it's not getting lost.
I like that,
Simply
yeah.
because our software doesn't support the account code.
Any other questions or comments about agenda section 8, the financial consent items A through L? Hearing none, Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda section 9, public records request. The board acknowledges the receipt of the public records requests as presented to the board in our board pack. Agenda section 10, policies. This will go concerning agenda section 10, item A. May I have a motion to approve the final reading of the following 19 policies?
So moved.
Second.
This is a final reading. Mr. Seaver, any comments about these 19 policies?
I don't have any comments. I didn't get any questions this month about any of them, so if anybody has anything specific. Most of these, obviously, as we talk about every time we bring something here, unless we're requesting it specifically, it's because a law changed or something has changed at the state level that necessitates, or federal, that necessitates some sort of change here. So a lot of these had to do with federal grants, use of cards and things like that that came out of the some federal changes, but I don't have anything specific.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Ms. Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, staying in agenda section 10, policies. Section 10, item B, I need a motion to approve the first reading of those 4 policies.
So moved.
Second?
So the treasurer's office staff found something in policy that was inconsistent with changes made to contract language during previous negotiations around sick leave accumulation. They're allowed to accumulate above 250 days of sick leave over their career. But previously, prior to that, they were not allowed to go above 250. So this is cleaning up some disagreement there within the negotiated agreement. Kudos to her staff for finding that. And then policy 8500, I would encourage you to read that and come back with any questions you have about artificial meat and the ability to serve that in the school cafeteria. I don't believe we're going to, but I'm pretty sure that was a requirement under some laws that have been passed recently about genetically engineered meat products. So if you have any questions, please let me know. It's going to be a good read there, I think. So I don't have a whole lot of details for you besides that's what I know it's about.
Okay.
So I'll be willing to do any research you have for me on artificial meat. I'm not sampling it. So, okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Severs? All right, Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, agenda section 11 are other educational consent items. I need a motion to approve item A, which is testing on paper for grade 3 Ohio State test in reading for the 2026-2027 school year.
So moved.
Second.
State testing has moved to digital in the last 10 years, but they recognize that third grade testing for reading, it probably is best to be handled in paper pencil form because kids are still learning how to read at that grade, and research has shown that the testing results were much better when it was on paper or pencil than on the computer. And so we have been for the last several years asking to still take that in paper pencil, which requires board action, so I can request to the state to send us those paper tests for next school year.
So is every student doing it?
Every third grade reading test is done paper pencil.
Okay. I thought it was just
Nope.
a few.
Yep, every grade. We've actually seen some improvement since we started using paper pencil just on scores alone.
It's my understanding when Ms. Cope was in school, the board would make a motion to allow students to use parchment scrolls and quills. Is that correct?
I think she's significantly
Yeah, there was
younger
certainly
than you
not
are.
rapid guessing back then.
As opposed to the slate that Roy used when he was.
Like, people ask me like what
You
I got.
chiseling your answers into stone?
Ask me, how did I do in American history? I'm like, great, because I only had like 30 years. So, all right, that's enough of the jokes. Any other questions about that's a good idea? I think we will do a vote, Ms. Irvin.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda section 12, I need a motion to approve the personnel consent items A through O. A through O, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and I will go ahead and read all of them. A is a retirement. B is 3 resignations. C is employment pending acceptable BCI, FBI background check. D is to approve a revised exempt handbook. E, administrative contracts. F, administrative supervisor contracts. G is substitute employment for bus drivers and permanent building substitutes. H is a list of supplementals pending acceptable background check. I is a supplemental volunteer coach. J, change of status. K is a list of volunteers. L1 is a list of recommended leaves of absence. And L2 is to approve additional unpaid leave days, which is in your packet. M is a list of our tutors. N will be our summer seasonal workers. And O is a game worker.
And I'm assuming J is longer than normal because the college semester ended recently, right? The change of status lists.
Yes. Yes, so a couple of things. That is a result of, we have several times a year where teachers can provide their college transcripts for movement on the salary schedule. And so February, March timeline is when that can happen. So that, and they give it to us by a certain time for courses that were completed prior to January 1, then that can be backdated, going back to the beginning of the semester. So yes. A couple other things just to point out on here. Chris Krebs is retiring after a long career with the school district, and so we wish her well. We are ahead of schedule with a lot of employment contracts being offered. So those people in item C will begin next school year. And so Brian in the HR department has done a really good job of posting those as soon as we know, spending February and beginning of March. We've actually seen a lot of other school districts jumping on board and trying to hire early as well. So for the first couple of years, we were out there on our own, and then others have figured out that people are doing it and getting, but we think we have some really great people. But just some examples, like we were interviewing for intervention specialists. We had 2 finalists, and from the time that we interviewed them the first time to the time they called them like a day or 2 later, one of them had already been interviewed, offered a job on the spot and accepted it and didn't come back for a second interview. And so like that timeline is just continuing to creep up. So specifically with intervention specialists, we try to get them early. There is, I think that's about it for what I have, unless anybody has any questions on something specific. Okay.
Any other questions? Section 13, A through O. Hearing none, Ms. Irvin, roll please.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right, agenda section 13A, I'm going to need a motion to approve the school energy performance contract project with Vista Consulting.
So moved.
Just to point a few
We need a
things.
second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
I got excited.
All right.
Got excited for a moment. So we've been working on this for a while with Vista. We did a project previously with Vista. They showed here 2010. Back then it was lighting, it was controls, trying to save on energy cost, pay for the upgrades through the energy savings, is the philosophy of this program. It's offered through the Ohio School Facilities Commission, and the grants or the loans can come through them. And you have to show a payback period. The ROI has to be significant enough that the energy savings pays for the work. We did some really good work in 2010, and a lot of things have changed in the last 16 years. And we're also beginning to see a need for certain things to be replaced in our district, chillers, boilers, things like that, because they've reached the end of their useful life. And so this program allows us to maybe take some of the savings that we have from changing out from fluorescent lights to LED lights, for example. It's the largest payback. It happens in the quickest amount of time, and you can use some of that savings to help pay for other things as well. So we're coupling some things together. We did a project in 2010. Where are we right now with Vista? We did in March of 2025, exactly a year ago, we did an OFCC approval where I asked the Board of Education, we want to do an energy project work, and we have a scope that's like a mile wide. We want to send it to the state of Ohio to see if they'll approve it and agree with the numbers. And so last March, we did that, and OFCC approved and said, your numbers match, the engineering on all of that stuff works. We sought ELF state funding. So remember, in the last 6 months or so, we're like, we're going to put a pause on this. We're going to apply for a grant. We applied for the grant. We did not get it. And so the backup plan, one of the options was ELF state funding, which we qualify and have been pre-approved for a $1 million loan at 0.25%. And so the board has already given us some direction around applying for that loan. We're in line. Unfortunately, right now in Columbus, that is a department that has nobody leading it currently. I don't know how that works, but whoever approves the final stamp of approval, they don't have somebody working there right now. So we're in line, and we can get that stamp of approval for the $1 million at 0.25%, but we have no idea when that's going to be position filled or somebody to finalize that. So that's part of a little wrinkle on that. What we're asking tonight is board approval to kind of continue moving forward with the project. This is some of the scope of work that what we're talking about here, and I will share this with you. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this because I don't know all of the information, but LED lighting retrofit across the district. So in all buildings, changing from fluorescent to LED lights. The ability, you'll see there in terms of the lighting increase. Some of our buildings, the lighting is terrible and it feels very dark and dingy in spots. So we'll see some lighting increase as a result of that, but also less energy consumption. One of the places in the district that has one of the worst energy consumptions is actually the stadium lights. Those fixtures are old and very not efficient. And as much as the stadium is used, there's actually a pretty good payback on replacing those with an LED light fixture. So that's included in that price as well for about, I think around roughly $200,000 for replacing light fixtures. This building, they did a lot of renovations, but one thing they didn't touch was the heating and air conditioning units on that end of the building. Take a look at them when you leave the building tonight. They're large and most of them don't work currently. So one of them we've limped along through the winter months, but we need to do something about those. Those will be included. HVAC automation upgrades. We have some outdated controls and trying to get things under better control, which will allow us to save energy as well. Lighting control upgrades. High school boilers, very large boilers that either on full speed or not. And so there's some options there. And then one of the things that was in the plan originally, we are not working forward right now, but it's still on the plan, would be a possible solar array that could generate some electricity for us. But we're currently discussing some things with the city of Lebanon, but also not something we're pursuing, but it's in the plan that could be pursued. It's already approved. So this is how we've packaged some things here. Total project cost $4.456 million. ELF loan, again, $1 million, 0.25%. The district, we did a Bradley Payne loan already. It's how we paid for the buses that we purchased and the high school roof that we did this past summer. And that's already in hand, so we have some money left over from that loan. And then there's the possibility, wish we would have known about this before, but OFCC revitalized an old program that was called House Bill 264, and they gave us the option of a loan at 2% interest. Doesn't really have a cap on it. We could apply for it. If we didn't known that, we probably could have taken less from Bradley Payne, but we didn't know that was an option at the time. And so combining those three things to try to keep it as much, lack of interest over a 10 or 15-year period you see there. So
The ELF is capped at $1 million.
the ELF is capped at $1 million. We were going to try to squeeze as much out of it as possible. I think the $1 million, I think you could have applied up to 2.5. I think we're going to try to apply for that, but that's also split amongst as many people that apply. So, so any questions about that? what you're approving tonight is for us to continue into the next phase of saying, we have the plan that's accepted by the state, we've narrowed down the scope, we're approving that we're going to work with Vista. We've vetted multiple other energy conservation companies. So this is saying we're going to move forward with Vista and we're going to finalize the scope. They claim that we can get all of this work done this summer, which would be while school is out, getting all of the lighting retrofits and everything done. Obviously, some of the bigger equipment may take a little bit longer to get in, but a lot of the work, pulling wires, doing new controls, a lot of those things would happen this summer. So
And just looking at the distance between the red and the yellow, I guess.
yeah,
It looks like about a 1.5 million. I'm really grossly estimating there.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got it on there? I can't read that.
neither can I. I mean, that delta there is between $800,000 and.
Kind of added it all up across the way.
Yeah, I mean, I can get you some more specific things in there, but you know,
In that last year, it's $400,000 in savings.
Yes.
It's almost exactly on the 2 lines.
yes. And this is the type of thing, Vista's on the hook for, you know, the savings, and so if we don't achieve the savings at the level we're supposed to, there's some guarantee in there with some of these projects and loans as well, so. Okay? So that's what you're approving tonight with that letter there.
So in our other business section 13A, any other questions for Mr. Severs? Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda section 13B, I need a motion to approve the amendment to the superintendent contract of employment.
So moved?
Second.
So, under our current superintendent contract, by law, we are required to pick up employee share of retirement contributions on behalf of the superintendent. We would change the contract in Article 3 if federal, state, or local laws, regulations, or administrative rulings affecting the Board of Education's pickup of administrators' contributions to the state teachers' retirement system are enacted, amended, or invalidated. The board shall take all lawful steps necessary to preserve the economic benefit of any pickup provisions. I thought I should read that.
I appreciate that.
All right.
So the clarification of it is that it's a form of compensation within Karen and I's contract to pick up a portion or all of retirement contributions. And the recommendation from associations in Ohio is that if contracts did not have the language that if something changes, that's considered compensation, so that would need to be reopened to discuss compensation changes as a result. So,
And just to be clear, you said yours and Karen's, but it's a standard language in almost every superintendent and treasurer contract.
it is the standard language in every superintendent and treasurer's contract, and the recommendation is that that these types, it is acknowledging that the board understands it's a form of compensation. When we discuss this, there's nothing else that changes in the contract besides that. And so if something were to change, future boards would say, you know, well, that changed, we can't do it anymore. This board has changed the contract to say we recognize it's a form of compensation. And if that were to go away as an opportunity, then we would want to open up the superintendent's contract to discuss compensation. So,
Only if the laws change.
only if the laws change.
Yeah, we're not
Nothing
changing-
else in the
We're not
contract
changing
changes.
anything, we're just saying we can.
Yeah, there's no value benefit to
Yeah,
that.
there's nothing there, so. And we've all discussed that pretty thoroughly, so does anybody have any questions on the section 13B to approve the amendment to the superintendent contract? No additional questions, Ms. Irvin, roll, please.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, agenda section 13C, I will need a motion to approve an amendment to the treasurer's contract of employment.
So moved.
Second.
I'm not going to just repeat everything I just said, besides ditto for the treasurer. We all good there? Ms. Dalton, good?
Yes.
Good? All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, Ms. Irvin, roll please.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then agenda section 13D, I need a motion to approve a cash balance policy.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Ms. Irvin, can you explain the cash balance policy, please?
Yes. Okay, so the first thing to note is your board policy online. It dictates that you have a cash balance policy that will be approved in resolution form. So that is why this is separate from the policies section that you typically see these policies in. So what we did, we've met several times as the CAC committee and just look at what kind of balances do you as a Board of Education want to hold and maintain here at the district? And what triggers do we put into place so that either I or the superintendent come to you as a board and say, hey, this policy is triggered, now we have to do these things. So that's kind of what the policy does. Some of the things you'll see here is it defines true cash days, which we talked about in my earlier presentation. It defines some of those key terms so we all know where we're starting with. It also says our bottom limit, the limit that we want to never go beyond or never go under is 90 days. That's about 25% of operating expenses. It also says, hey, great for a minimum, but we also need a maximum. You don't want to have so much cash that you're not providing the services for your students. So the upper limit we set was 180 days. That's about 50% of your expenditures. And if you think our primary revenue source is property taxes, we get property taxes every 6 months. So that's kind of where that trigger point came in. So what happens if you actually hit that trigger point is also dictated in this policy, and it's pretty general so that it gives us some flexibility of how we go about this. But basically, in real action today, the forecast that you see does not meet, it hits this trigger point, right? Our days cash goes less than the 90 days. So at the point that I show data in the forecast, and we chose June at the end of the year just because that's a true value that we can choose. If we show reaching a trigger point on either side, this policy then says, here are some actions that are going to happen. One, we are going to notify the board immediately in writing. We do that every month anyways. You see that update as soon as I get them. But also, if that happens, then we need to start planning for the future. So if we have a shortfall, what do we need to look at? Do we need to look at reducing expenditures? Do we need to talk about new money options? Those are things that are suggested in here of what things the superintendent and I are going to start doing from a district perspective. All of that builds into a plan that we present to the board for, here's the remediation options, here's what we would recommend that the board do to kind of head off either one of these trigger points. So it's actually a really short policy. It just sets, here are the parameters, and here are the things that we can do from a district perspective to get back to the board to make sure that our financial footing stays solid. Is any other questions? It's really quite a short policy.
Also, Karen, you had mentioned that you were advised to do this.
Yes.
Can you explain that? Because
Yes.
that's really why we're doing it. 'Cause
That is true.
we're doing this already.
Yes,
Right.
we adhere to this.
We're doing this.
Yes. This is really putting in
There's
writing
a
what we're
reason
doing.
why are we putting it in writing?
Yeah, so back before all the property tax reform was happening, or while it was happening, being discussed, my professional organization, OASBO, came back and said, hey, there's a lot of confusion in the legislature about what cash balance days look like and what you should have, what you shouldn't have. Go back further, even as an employee at the city, I also had a professional organization there that translates. It's the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association. They also have sample policies and they do a recommendation of this. So basically, OASBO said, hey, property tax reform is going on. Folks are really confused. We highly recommend that you put this into place because property tax levies, we saw that odd graph. There's a very clear cycle of if your cash balance decreases, schools typically go for new money to increase that. This dictates and guides that a little bit. So OASBO said, let's take out the confusion of the legislature. Let's establish this so that you can provide this to your county when they're talking about, do you need this property tax? You have clear data points of this is what we're looking for. The GFOA recommends a 90-day cash balance. That's across all government entities, not just schools. So OASBO is specific to school districts. GFOA is all governments. So really taking into consideration, this is guidelines for us, but it formalizes it, puts it in writing to say, hey county, hey state, hey federal, we have considered our options. We think this is the best way based on our income structure. So certain other places might have an income tax that changes that 6-month window. But for us, we have property tax. So those are the things we looked at as a finance committee, just kind of looking at what are our best options with the current structure we have, so that when we make these decisions looking into the future, we have that formalized plan.
And I can add a comment. At any time, Mrs. Dalton, Mr. Lane, Mr. Glowdy, Ms. Cope, myself, we can just say we don't like 90, it needs to be 100, right? I mean, it's our policy. We can change it however we want.
Yeah.
At Karen's recommendation, right?
Please
We've
don't
been
do
using
30.
120, is that?
180 was the top.
I mean,
On
what
my
have we
slides, yes.
currently been using 120.
We always say
Recommended.
that's a target.
Right.
Yeah, that's the recommended target.
The 90 is when, at the end of the year, if it's at 90, we get to sit down and decide where the cuts are going to be made.
Yeah. So 120 is really in between the maximum and the minimum, right? Minimum being 90, maximum 180. 120 is our safe spot. We like being there. That's basically how that's.
Any other questions for Karen on agenda section 13D, the cash balance policy? Hearing none, Ms. Irvin, roll.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Agenda section 14, board comments. Ms. Cope, anything you'd like to add this evening?
I have nothing.
Nothing for me? No shots or nothing?
I'm going to let that go tonight.
Mr. Gliotti?
3 quick things, and then I'm going to borrow some time from last meeting where I had no comments.
Oh, boy.
No.
Does everybody see this?
Here we
go. First, it was great to present to the careers class and meet those students again for 3 bells. That was awesome. Reading the first and second graders was fantastic. My first and second graders were incredible sound engineers for our books. And hats off to the boosters, all they're doing, and a fantastic gala. I work in transportation as my profession, and they say in economics that transportation is on the leading edge of what's happening in the economy. And I've seen some very troubling things in the last 3 weeks, which are going to hit our school budget and every consumer's budget. In 7 days, diesel prices went up $1 per gallon. And there are 2 wars that are happening right now. The one that we understand in the Middle East, But there's a second war. If you watch 60 Minutes, there's many things that Americans are not really aware of that are clear and present dangers to our well-being. But the second war is an administrative battle, which was needed to call out the non-domiciled CDL drivers and to close the unsafe CDL schools. And it was estimated that there were approximately 200,000 truck drivers on the road who were not proper, not safe, and those folks led to fatalities increasing. They came from schools that were put in place very, very quickly to certain ends. But what I wanted to talk about for just a moment is that the price increases that you've only begun to start to realize are going to continue, and I don't believe that they're going to bounce back, and they're going to have implications for everyone, because this bottle of water in the beams of steel that are holding this building up are transported by truck. And the truck market is based on two different things, a contracted amount and a spot amount, a market, a bidding process. So in our current economy right now, 51% of the freight is moved by a spot market, a bid. It changes, it fluctuates. 49% are, I come to a trucking company and say, I have 100 truckloads of these bottles and I need to move it. What rate can you get me? And that's an agreed upon rate, and that rate is the more stable of the two. That spot market to move a truck from Cincinnati to Baltimore jumped in the last 7-8 days from $2,000 to $3,100. And also contract rates, regardless of whether there's a contract or not, are being declared null and void and updated for this fuel cost. So what I wanted to just point out is that we're concerned about our finances always, but the costs that we have noticed of things just overall rising are going to be exaggerated. And because there is a confluence of two different effects, a geography, a war that is affecting natural resources, energy, combined with a lack of resources to move freight, all businesses, I think, and all individuals do need to start to think about prices moving up and not moving back quickly, because there isn't, even if there wasn't a Middle East conflict, the effects of taking 100,000 drivers off the road that we don't have a means to replace out of the system is one issue. So without a Mideast conflict, you would have begun to start to see price increases at the grocery store and other places. And you haven't seen them yet because those goods haven't hit the price, the shelf yet. But it's coming, and I just wanted to make the district aware that our expenses are going to increase, and it's not really too unexpected given these two major impacts on the transportation industry, one of which you probably didn't know about. That's all I wanted to say.
Very good. Ms. Dalton?
No comments.
Mr. Lang?
Taking all that in, aren't you?
So I do have a couple. Brooke Wong's comments earlier about Donovan, or about the Bowman staff, very much appreciated. I think we have dozens of those stories we could tell, but it's nice to have a parent come in and appreciate the efforts that the staff did on her child's behalf. It was just an incredible story to hear what they did. The other one, I want to commend Mr. Sievers. The bullying data is, while we don't like what we see, it's what we've been asking for to see, right? That extra detail. So to see it in that format, I think tells I don't want to say it tells a great story, but it tells the story, right? And I appreciate you put that together.
Is that it? So I have one comment in addition to what Mr. Gliotti said, because there's more good news. Oh, there's plenty more. As far as like, I filled my truck up, my pickup truck, and last week it was $132 for my pickup truck, which is a diesel. The other good news is fertilizer, which was $450 a ton, is now $800 a ton. So not only will transportation be dramatically affected, but the cost of food, because we don't manufacture a lot in this country anymore, but it's coming. And agriculture will be the first one that you see. I have friends that probably will quit growing this year because of how expensive it would be to do it. The other comment, and I want to say thank you for your comments, and Chris, and I want to talk about the reading to the little kids. I think I was running late because I had to do preschool and then I ran down to first grade. So the teacher was explaining who I was to the kids, first graders. And I was 5 minutes late. She goes, "It's okay. I was telling them who you were." I was assuming she was going to talk like he's a Black Barn guy and he's got tomatoes and stuff. So I'm like, "What'd your teacher say?" And they're like, "Oh, that you're on the school board and you're president and this, that, and the other." And one of the little kids goes, "What do you do?" So I explained it to them and how I work for them, right? Who's your boss? I work for you guys, and what my role is, and explain how, I work with the superintendent to make sure they get everything they need, right? This little kid stands up in the back and goes, "I just want to know who the big boss is." Which was great. So, right. And I answered Mr. Lane. So, all right. So if there's no further business, I'm going to need a motion to adjourn.
So
Move. Second.
Ms. Irvin?
Mrs. Cope?
Yes.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. McCutcheon?
Yes.
Mr. Gliotti?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all.